The stars were quiet when the signal first came. It was weak, broken, almost too faint to be heard. A simple distress call drifting through the void, a voice that trembled with fear. We are under attack. Please, if anyone can hear us, help us. They are burning our worlds. We cannot fight them. Please, anyone." The message repeated again and again, carried by damaged transmitters and dying ships. It reached colonies that ignored it. It reached empires that listened for a moment, then turned away. To them, the cry was nothing but the death song of another, weak race crushed under the weight of stronger powers. But the message did not stop. It kept traveling, bouncing from relay to relay, carried farther and farther into the void, until at last it reached Earth. When the humans heard it, they did not laugh. They did not ignore it. They did not hesitate. The halls of Earth Command fell silent as the signal played across the room. Generals, admirals, and leaders listened, their faces hard. The voice spoke of colonies in flames, of families fleeing into the void, of entire worlds falling to a merciless enemy fleet. The desperate alien plea cut through the static, raw with terror. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the admiral of the fleet leaned forward, his voice calm but heavy. "How far?" "7 sectors beyond our borders," a technician replied. Transmission came through 4 relays. "The enemy fleet is massive. The species requesting help. Almost no defenses left." The room fell into silence again. Everyone knew what this meant. To cross into those sectors was to cross into war. To answer this SOS was to challenge an empire. But humans had been challenged before, and they had never backed down. The admiral stood slowly. His voice carried the weight of Earth itself. "Prepare. The fleet." Whispers spread through the command hall. Officers tapped consoles, sending signals across every base, every station, every dockyard. Orders spread like wildfire. Engines to full readiness, crews to battle stations, weapons primed. The galaxy had always whispered about humans. They called Earth a death world, a cursed planet where survival forged monsters. They said humans were dangerous, unpredictable, too violent to be trusted. But when the cry for help came, it was not the safe worlds that answered. It was the monsters from Earth. Far away, the aliens who sent the message waited. Their skies burned, their ships crumbled, their people huddled in shelters, praying for salvation. They had little hope. Why would anyone come? What power in the galaxy would risk war for them? But then their long-range sensors lit up. Hundreds of signals entered the system at once, blinking into existence like a storm of fireflies. At first, they thought it was the enemy fleet. Their hearts sank. They had prayed in vain. But as the signals grew clearer, as shapes emerged from the void, their despair shifted to confusion, and then to shock. These were not enemy ships. These were ships unlike any they had seen, sleek, dark, bristling with weapons. Massive carriers flanked by destroyers, cruisers, and escorts. Ships forged not for defense but for war. The humans had come. The aliens stared at their monitors, their voices trembling. It's them. It's the Deathworlders." Across their comms, human voices rang clear, steady, and cold. "This is Earth Fleet Command. Your signal was received. Stand by. We will engage the enemy." The weak aliens wept with relief and fear. Relief that someone had answered. Fear that it was the humans, because everyone in the galaxy knew one thing. When humans entered a war, they did not come with mercy. They came with fire. The enemy fleet did not hesitate when they detected the newcomers. They laughed across their comms, mocking the humans. "Deathworlders? You dare step into our war? You are nothing. We will burn your fleet as we burn theirs." But the humans did not answer. They simply moved into formation. Engines roared, shields flared, weapons locked, and in the silence that followed, the galaxy held its breath, because the last time a human fleet moved like this, an empire had fallen, and now they were moving again. The alien survivors watched the stars with shaking hearts. Their colonies had burned, their fleets had shattered, and their enemy was closing in with overwhelming force. Every hour brought them closer to extinction. They had sent their SOS as a final act of desperation, never expecting an answer. But then, the humans came. At first, the alien refugees could not believe their scanners. The enemy empire mocked them openly, laughing on intercepted channels. "More prey?" the invaders jeered. "Let them come. We will tear apart their bones, like we did yours." Yet when the humans appeared, the laughter faltered. Hundreds of ships entered the system, not clumsy or weak, but sleek and dark, moving with precision. Massive carriers, heavy cruisers, destroyers, and escorts arranged themselves into formation. They did not hesitate. They did not ask questions. They simply moved as if the void itself obeyed them. The watching aliens whispered in terror, "It is them, the Deathworlders." Rumors had always followed the humans. Stories told of a world where everything tried to kill you. Storms that destroyed cities, predators that hunted the night, plagues that wiped out millions. A world so cruel that only the strongest could survive. And now, the survivors of that world had arrived with warships forged in its image. The enemy fleet commander sneered. His voice crackled across the comms. "Do you think your Death World myths frighten us? We are an empire. We have crushed 1,000 races. You are nothing but savages and stolen machines." The human admiral did not respond. Not yet. His fleet remained silent, shifting slowly into attack formation. The silence itself was a weapon, heavier than threats. Inside the alien refugee stations, children pressed their faces to windows, staring at the ships. The humans carried no banners, no colors of pride, only the cold black and silver of war. Their engines glowed with steady blue light. Their weapons, hundreds on each hull, tracked and locked in silence. The alien officer who had sent the original distress call trembled. He had begged for help, never believing it would come. And now that it had, he wasn't sure if salvation or destruction had arrived. The humans broke their silence. A calm, steady voice came across the channels, the admiral's tone like stone. "This is Earth Fleet Command. To the survivors, your message was heard. Stay clear. We are moving to engage." The aliens gasped. They expected speeches, promises, diplomacy. But the humans spoke only of action. "Stay clear. We are moving to engage." The enemy commander roared with laughter. "You dare? You send hundreds of ships against thousands? Then come, Deathworlders. Show us your savagery before we burn your fleet." The battle was inevitable. The humans advanced. Alien. Survivors clutched each other as they watched. For them, every second was agony. If the humans failed, it meant extinction. If the humans won, it meant survival. But survival bought with a terrible price, for no one ever forgot what humans became. When they fought, the pressure grew unbearable. The galaxy had seen battles before, countless wars, but this was different. This was the first time in generations that the Deathworlders had moved as one. Their fleet's silence, their cold precision, carried a weight that shook even those not yet touched by the war. The alien officer whispered to himself, his voice trembling. "What have we called down upon us?" No one answered him. The stars did. The human fleet lit its engines, weapons humming to life. The void trembled, and the galaxy braced for what came next. The void between the two fleets stretched wide and silent. On one side, the Empire's armada gleamed with arrogant light, thousands of ships armed with weapons that had crushed dozens of worlds. On the other side, the human fleet floated in, black silence, their hulls cold and sharp like predators waiting in the dark. The enemy commander sneered across the comms. "Look at them, hiding in shadows, too afraid to even announce themselves. Fire upon them. Show these savages how a real fleet fights." His ships advanced. Rows of cruisers, dreadnoughts, and escorts surged forward with weapons glowing hot. They fired the first volley. Streams of plasma and beams of light cut across the void. Explosions rippled against human shields, brilliant flashes that lit the darkness. For a moment, the refugees watching from the edge of the system gasped in fear. "They've been hit," some cried. But then, as the light faded, the truth became clear. The human fleet was untouched, their shields held steady, glowing with cold blue light. The formation did not waver. Not a single ship broke rank. They had absorbed the full fury of the Empire's opening strike as if it were nothing. The human admiral's voice finally broke the silence. Calm, cold, unshaken. Fire. And then, the void itself roared. Hundreds of human ships lit up at once. Missiles launched in swarms, streaking like fire across the stars. Railguns spat slugs at impossible speeds, tearing through shields as if they were paper. Particle beams cut across the void, slicing enemy cruisers clean in half. The Empire fleet, so sure of its dominance, reeled in shock. Entire lines of ships exploded in seconds. The human strike had been precise, coordinated, and merciless. They did not aim to weaken. They aimed to kill. The refugees watching from their battered stations trembled. Some cried, some cheered, some simply stared in silence. They had seen battles before, but never like this. Humans did not fight like soldiers. They fought like predators. Every movement, every shot, every maneuver was designed to end life as quickly as possible. The enemy commander shouted orders, his voice filled with sudden panic. "Hold the line! Push forward! They cannot withstand our numbers." But numbers meant nothing now. The human fleet moved like a single organism. Flanking groups cut off escape routes. Carriers unleashed swarms of drones that tore into enemy formations. Destroyers darted forward with brutal speed, hammering at weak points with railgun fire. Cruisers pounded heavy capital ships until they split apart in bursts of flame. One Empire dreadnought, massive and proud, turned its main cannon on the human flagship. It fired, a beam of energy so powerful it split the darkness in two. But the human flagship responded with cold precision. Its shields flared, its weapons lit, and in 3 seconds the dreadnought was gone, torn into molten debris scattered across the void. The refugees whispered in awe. They fight like no other. They fight as if war is their home. The enemy's arrogance shattered, their comms filled with panic, with, fall back, their officers screamed. But retreat was impossible. The human fleet had cut them off, sealing every escape path. The admiral's voice came again, soft but merciless. No survivors. The humans pressed forward, their firepower doubling, tripling, drowning the void in destruction. The Empire fleet collapsed ship by ship, formation by formation, until the stars themselves seemed to burn with the light of their deaths. The battle had lasted minutes. Minutes, and an Empire fleet that once ruled entire sectors was reduced to wreckage. The silence that followed was deafening. Only the wreckage of the fallen drifted through the void, glowing faintly against the cold starlight. The refugees stared at their monitors in shock. Tears filled their eyes, not just from relief but from terror. They had begged for help, and help had come. But it had not come in mercy. It had come in the form of Deathworlders, a fleet that killed without hesitation, without pause, without mercy. The human admiral spoke one last time, his calm voice carrying across every channel. "This system is secure. Survivors, you are safe. For now." The words echoed in the chamber of the alien refugees. For now. It was a promise, or a warning. Perhaps both. The humans had answered their call, and the galaxy would never forget the first strike. The void was filled with wreckage. Enemy ships that once shone like symbols of power now drifted as burning husks, torn open, spilling fire and metal into the darkness. The first strike was over, and the Empire's proud fleet was gone, but the humans were not finished. Their fleet spread outward like a tide, engines blazing, weapons still armed. Each formation moved with deadly purpose, cutting deeper into enemy lines, hunting down stragglers that tried to escape. Human destroyers darted forward, intercepting fleeing vessels with precise bursts of railgun fire. Carriers unleashed drone.
Wings that swarmed the void, tearing apart smaller ships that attempted to hide in asteroid fields. Cruisers unleashed barrages of missiles, explosions chaining one after another until the night itself seemed to burn. The Empire commanders screamed,
Over comms. Fall back to the fortress world. Regroup. We must. Their voices were cut short by static and flame. The humans had sealed every escape route. There would be no regrouping, no survivors. In the refugee stations, aliens huddled in silence. Their wide eyes reflected the glow of explosions across the system. Children clung to their parents, whispering questions no one dared answer. Was this victory? Or was this the arrival of something even more terrifying than their enemies? The alien officer who had sent the original SOS stared at his monitor, his claws trembling. He had begged the stars for salvation. Now he wasn't sure if he had unleashed destruction greater than the threat itself. The human admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, calm and unshaken. His fleet moved like an extension of his will. His officers did not cheer, did not celebrate. They moved with silence as though this was routine, as though burning an empire's fleet was simply another day's work. Target their command stations, the admiral said quietly. His words were calm, but every officer on the bridge felt the weight behind them. Orders rippled outward. The fleet shifted again. Enemy command stations, once seen as impenetrable, lit up in flames as human firepower rained down. Orbital fortresses cracked and fell, their shields shredded, their cores torn apart. Entire planets shook under the bombardment. Cities crumbled. Factories that once built war machines vanished in fire. The Empire had ruled this region for centuries. Their power had been absolute. But in a single day, in a single battle, humanity erased it. The shock spread across the galaxy. News traveled fast, faster than light could carry. Across star systems, alien governments heard whispers. The humans had moved. The Deathworlders had answered a call for help, and they had destroyed an Empire's fleet in less than an hour. Some species trembled in fear. Others whispered in awe. Leaders who once mocked humanity now sent urgent messages to their councils. If they can do this to an empire, what could they do to us? The rescued aliens watched in stunned silence as the human fleet pressed deeper. The enemy's once proud admirals begged for surrender, but the humans did not answer. Their ships moved with cold precision, wiping away every trace of resistance. The alien officer finally spoke, his voice hollow. They fight as if this is natural to them, as if war is their language. And in a way it was true. Humans did not fight for glory. They did not fight for display. They fought to survive, and when they fought to win. The Empire's last stronghold collapsed in fire. The system shook with silence. The enemy was gone. All that remained was wreckage, drifting ash, and the silent fleet of humanity, standing alone in the void. The rescued aliens could not decide whether to cheer or to cry. They had been saved from destruction. But they had also seen something no species should ever forget. The shockwave had begun. The galaxy would never be the same again. The battle was over. The void that once roared with fire and screams was now quiet. Debris drifted across the black, glowing faintly from the fires of shattered ships. The Empire's proud fleet had been reduced to wreckage, broken hulls, silent. Engines and fragments of arrogance scattered among the stars. The human fleet stood in formation, engines low, weapons still armed but silent. They did not celebrate. They did not broadcast victory. They simply hovered in the void, watching, waiting, like predators that had finished the kill but had not yet left the field. Inside the refugee stations, the aliens stared at their screens in stunned silence. For hours they had waited for death, praying for salvation. And now they lived. Yet the sight before them filled them not only with relief but with fear. The officer who had sent the SOS sat frozen, his claws gripping the console. His people were alive, but he could not shake the image of the human fleet's cold precision. He whispered to himself, "They saved us." But at what cost? The alien children who had watched the battle pressed their faces to the glass, whispering in awe, "They're monsters, but they're our monsters." On the human flagship, the admiral stood at the center of the bridge. His eyes scanned the wreckage calmly. His crew worked in silence, their movements efficient and precise. No one spoke of glory, no one spoke of honor. For them, Survival was not glory. It was duty. One of his officers broke the silence. "Admiral, the enemy is gone. Not a single ship remains." "Orders?" The admiral's voice was steady, cold. "Transmit to the survivors." Across the stations and broken colonies, human voices filled the comms. "This is Earth Fleet Command. Your signal was received. Your worlds are safe for now." Those last two words echoed through the chamber of every survivor. For now, it was a warning. It was a promise. The rescued aliens wept, some in relief, others in fear. They had begged the stars for salvation, and it had come. But salvation had not come as gentle light. It had come as fire. The galaxy itself trembled as the news spread. Across star systems, whispers carried faster than ships. Leaders gathered in secret, their voices tense. The Deathworlders have moved. They destroyed an Empire fleet in a single strike. If they can do this for strangers, what would they do to their enemies? For centuries, humanity had been a story told in shadows. A dangerous species from a cursed world. Survivors too wild to tame, too violent to trust. And now the stories had been proven true. The empire that once ruled with terror was gone, erased in hours. And the galaxy understood. When humans answered an SOS, they did not come to negotiate. They came to end wars. On the refugee station, silence lingered. The officer looked out the viewport, watching the dark human ships drift in formation. He could not tell if they were protectors or conquerors. Perhaps both. The comms crackled once more. A human voice spoke, calm and cold. "Rebuild your worlds. But remember, next time do not wait until you are burning to call for help." The channel cut. The human fleet turned slowly, engines glowing bright. One by one, the massive warships vanished into faster-than-light jumps, slipping back into the void. They left nothing behind but silence and wreckage. The refugees sat in awe. They had been saved. Yet the silence left by the humans was louder than any war cry, because every alien in that system, and soon, every alien in the galaxy, would remember this truth. When humans arrive, the stars themselves shake. When humans fight, empires fall. And when humans answer an SOS, the galaxy trembles. The silence that followed would echo across generations.